Okay, so good morning, folks, or good afternoon for some of you. Again, I'm Ainsley Keller. I'm the Marketing Director for SK Global Software, and we have a presentation this morning on ePay Advantage. It's our newest product. We've partnered with Nodus Technologies, and Tim Kahn, our CTO, is going to be presenting today. I'll be on the line, and I'm going to be doing administrative stuff in the background. So what that means is that if you have a question throughout the presentation and you're still muted, go ahead and just post in the question toolbar. You should see a little meeting box on your screen, and there should be a little questions toolbox area. And if you just post your question there, then we can ask it at the end. We've left plenty of time for questions. If you have an issue with technology, I'll try my best to help you out. You can just chat me privately through the chat tool. Like I said, we're going to be muted for now. If you have a question that you just need to ask in the middle of the presentation, there's a little icon that allows you to raise your hand, and I'll be keeping an eye on that. So if you raise your hand and you need to ask a question right away, then we'll go ahead and unmute you, and Tim will address the question then. But we'll try to keep most of the questions towards the end. So go ahead and post them when you think about them, and then we'll make sure to bring them up. And then at the end, we'll unmute everyone so that you have a chance to ask questions directly as well. So Tim, I'll let you roll with it, and I'm going to start recording.
Okay, thank you, Ainsley, and good morning and good afternoon to everyone. We're happy to have this early session to help out our friends in Europe, and so welcome all. So as Ainsley said, we're going to talk about ePay Advantage, which is a module of our e-banking suite that provides web portal, invoice presentment, and payment. I think most of you probably are aware of our e-banking suite. It's for Dynamics AX. There are a number of modules that it includes, and again, we won't touch on those today, but the ePay Advantage is the newest module that's added to the suite, and those of you that have a current release of our product since this August or September, ePay Advantage would be available there for you to license. So without further ado, let's get going. I'm going to cover a couple of things. First, talk about some statistics about online invoicing, what demands customers are making of us in terms of wanting to have better payment methods. What are the benefits and the advantages of doing online invoice presentment and payment? Also, PCI compliance, data security standards. We're going to talk a bit about that just to give a little background. Of course, we're going to demo the software so you'll be able to see how it works in real life. And then there's a little bit of surprise I have towards the end, and then we'll do a Q&A. So I'm expecting the presentation to be about 25 or 30 minutes, and then we'll have time for some questions at the end. So let's get started. I really like this visual. You have a chance to look at it. I mean, it really talks about what's occurring in our current time frame. We have difference of us in different time ages in our life, and different things have different meanings to us. So it's kind of a fun visual, but in terms of online bill payment, it kind of sets the stage for what's happening now in this area. So let's talk a little bit about invoicing costs. Those of you in AR are probably very aware of this, but if we have some statistics here on, say, 600 invoices a month, there's some numbers and calculations. And if you look over to the right on that pie graph, you'll notice a lot of these have to do with manual labor. There are some things like printing, and that does not involve that, but most of the others involve manual labor. So that provides quite a bit of cost in our AR process. So when we add up that monthly cost of paper billing on 600 invoices, these are the kinds of numbers you come up with. Of course, this is going to vary depending. I know a lot of you may not do snail mailing of invoices today. You may do emailing, so part of that may be out of that process. But again, I think you're all aware of the cost of the AR invoicing process and the collection process as well. And so if you move to online bill payment, what we found, Forrester Research has done some analysis, and the numbers are there in terms of the 35% are more likely to pay their bills on time if you do an online bill paying. 12.5% of your customers are less likely to leave as customers if they have the capability to online bill pay. And then also there's a greater percentage chance that they're going to purchase more products because there's an opportunity to connect with your customers, not just with the invoice, but you can actually post cross-sell or upsell information on a portal where they log in. And in general, the payment methods, as this might make sense to you all, the orange lines are the lines of traditional methods of payment over time, and you can see that's steadily decreasing, whereas electronic payment methods are steadily increasing. It's a little bit older slide, but again, the trend is continuing. We see that in general, and of course, our suite in general deals with that. The ePay Advantage is one piece of our puzzle in terms of providing a new payment method for businesses and customers. So what are customers demanding? They're looking for more convenience in terms of making their payments, more control over it, more easy and more convenient. As we'll see, the ePay Advantage solution directly addresses that item. Also, when you're implementing any kind of new electronic payment method, integration with the ERP system is very important. There's not much value to have a nice website that you're doing things on, and then you have to go through a process of getting that data in and out of your ERP system. As we'll see, our solution in conjunction with Nodus provides a very tight integration between the bill pay process and AX as well. If you don't have integration, then of course you risk double entry, and that of course can cause human error. If you're doing things in two different places, you have to transfer the information. Without integration, you have no real-time reporting. You may have one system on the left and another system on the right, and they're not necessarily in sync, so you don't know exactly what's going on at any point in time. Then also, if you have multiple systems, you're going to have to reconcile the two together. And generally, that could be manual. It could be automatic, but again, why even have these issues if you can have tighter integration between your bill pay system and your ERP? And of course, security. Everyone, when you talk about online payment, security is of a very paramount issue. And just to be aware that you as the merchant are responsible for protecting your cardholder's data. So we're going to address how does our solution deal with that, but it's not the vendor you're working with, but actually you as the merchant that are responsible for that protection. If you do not have security, there's a cost. This is for a small business. This is some information we've gathered. And then even worse than the cost is that 31% of customers ended up terminating the relationship with the company if a breach was done with their information. So security is very, very important, and hopefully we'll see how our solution addresses that. So what are the advantages and benefits of an online bill pay system? As we talked about, customer satisfaction should increase. We find that payments are collected early, as well as late payments being reduced. The cost of the payment collection tends to go down, as you'll see, because we're going to remove a number of steps. We'll highlight that as we go forward. The customer service, the interaction between you and your customers will go down. Again, we'll touch on the fact of resending invoices, how tedious that is when someone doesn't have an invoice and they request another one. If we can reduce that interaction with your customer and make it a smoother process. Again, from an eco-friendly standpoint, just removing paper or any kind of paper that's involved, that's a benefit. And as I mentioned before, with a web portal, you can upsell and cross-sell your services, because on that portal you can highlight new items that are for sale or any kind of programs or discounts you might offer. And again, if you can reduce manual entry at any step of the process, everyone knows that that's a big benefit. I think we're going to see in this solution it's reduced virtually to a minimum. So let's talk a little bit about Nodus Technologies. We're going to talk, as we mentioned in the highlight of the slide, we talked about the fact that we're partnering with them. They've been very involved with electronic payment and e-commerce for a number of years. I think it's over 13 to 15 years. Right now they have over 1,300 Dynamics customers that are using Nodus Technologies to process their electronic payments. They deal with many different payment gateways around the world, both North America and in EMEA, and actually it covers APAC as well. So there's a lot of connectivity here. If you have a current payment gateway that you're using or a processor, we can work with them as well. And so what we have is a combination of two companies. SK Global Software has built the integration with AX, and the Nodus web-based payment portal is there to do the processing with the gateways and to make those payments. We'll see how that works when we show the software. So there are three pieces to the solution. The one is, of course, the AX integration. The second is a web portal that we'll show. And then the third actually is what's called PayFabric. PayFabric is a cloud-based solution that sits in Amazon Web Service, and that's where all the credit card data is stored. So the PayFabric piece that actually stores the credit cards and interacts with the processor is a PCI compliant implementation. It connects, as we see, to multiple gateways and processors, and actually the data where you enter the payments and the wallet screens, they're all hosted on PayFabric. We'll talk about a bit more about that in a second. So the PCI or payment card industry has the data security standard, DSS, and the PayFabric and the Nodus technology piece is all validated by a number of these authorities. So we should feel very comfortable that our data is being stored and captured in a very secure way. So let's talk a minute about PCI compliance. PCI compliance is required by all companies that are interacting with the major credit card processors. And what needs to happen is a review is done for your system to understand if you match that compliance. So how does ePay simplify that process? There are basically two pieces that are important in terms of compliance. And so where is the data, credit card data stored? You do not want to have it stored on your site because then you're responsible for it. And so again, as we'll talk about ePay stores it in the Amazon Web Cloud under the PayFabric umbrella. In addition, the data is being entered by your customers, not by your employees. So therefore, the entry of the data and the storage of the data is done off-site and not by your employees. Therefore, ePay simplifies that compliance when you go through that process. And I'll just read this, but there's been a number of companies. We have been a PCI compliant for many years using the Nodus products. This is a testimonial. Over the last year, we converted 19 of our businesses from Nodus CE to Nodus tokenization. We also launched 15 ePay websites with embedded PayPal pages. These Nodus products give our systems a complete hands-off approach to PCI compliance. We have a great partnership with Nodus, and their support team worked with us on every step of the way for a very successful project. The overall result of the project is a better customer experience and more efficient system. So again, in terms of our solution, we have all the integration with AX, and we manage the website for you. The Nodus folks are there as a backup and a resource. So still, we will be your single point of contact in terms of the product. So let's go over and take a look at how the product works. So what I'm showing here now is AX2012. This is R3CU9, but our solution works on all versions of AX2012. So what I've done before we started here is I actually created an invoice, a free text invoice, or we could use a sales order invoice. And what happens is when that occurs, we put it into a queue. So this is a queue that processes all the interactions back and forth to the ePay website. I entered this invoice down here. You can see yesterday. This was sent to ePay at 12/9 at a certain point in time, and so it sent that invoice up to ePay. So that's the part. What happens again in AX? Let me go over and just show how that would be done. I mean, it's very straightforward. If you come over here into sales and marketing, and we're going to do a free text invoice. Let's see here. Let me go over an AR actually. So I had a free text invoice that I created yesterday. Over here, this 14. I just entered a free text invoice and posted it. I could have done that in sales order and posted it as well, and then automatically it went into the queue and went over to ePay. So let's take a look at what that looked like on the portal. So that integration piece is the part that's in AX. The part that's in the portal here is this is the web portal. Again, this web portal can be hosted anywhere. You can host it on premise. If I log in as a customer, when that invoice goes over to ePay, the customer will get an email saying you've got something that's been posted to your portal. When they log in, then they can see the invoices that are there, and they can see also payments that are here as well. If I drill into one of the invoices, I can actually take a look at more details, and also I can click download the PDF. I'll show what that is. And so what this is, this actually, if you have a custom invoice in AX, that goes over to the portal. So now your customer can log in, review their invoices, and see the actual custom invoice that was created out of AX. So now they could print it off and view it at any time. Huge value of that, of course, is as all the invoices get presented to the portal, no longer are you required to keep sending invoices. You probably have a mechanism right now to email invoices to your customers, or you repetitively email when they say, I don't have one. Now with the portal, they're all here. You do it once, and it happens automatically. As soon as you post the invoice, it appears on the portal. Now your customer gets notified, and they can come here and view that invoice. So I'm going to go and view all the open invoices. So these are invoices here that still have a balance on them. It gives me this information. If I wanted to pay them all, I could simply click Select All, and I'd be set up to pay them all. It would summarize the information, get ready to pay them all. Or I could do one at a time, or I can do a pay in full, or I can do a partial pay, very simple. So in this case, I'm just going to add, I'm going to make a $100 payment. You can come here, you can make a prepayment if you want as well, make a comment, and then go to the pay screen. So again, this is your customer logged in, accessing their invoices and making a payment. What we see here then below are the payment options. These are the wallet entries that the customer has set up. They've set up a Visa card, MasterCard, an electronic check, or a direct debit. They can pull it out of their account. They can send it to pay it now, or they could set to pay it later. In this case, I'm going to use the default for the Visa card, and I'm going to submit that to the processor. This now is going out to the payment processor, and it went out and got an approval in real time. So you can see that the Visa went out, it got approved, a return code came back, an authorization code came back, a payment number was created, which we'll post back into AX, and that gives the paid invoice list. So that's all there is to it. That's the process of actually making that payment. Let's go back and see then how that works in AX and what we see in AX. If I come back to the e-banking suite, what I'm going to see is that a payment came in here on 12/10. A payment from ePay came in here, and what it did, it actually created a payment journal number 506 with that payment number. I can drill into the payment journal. This is a standard AR payment journal. Go into lines. And what happened is it automatically created the payment journal. It did the credit. Knew how to settle against the invoice. On the payment tab, it brought over the ePayment payment number. So now we've got this transaction tied back to ePay. This can be set up such that now at the end of the day, you would come in here to this journal, and you would see all your payments collectively, and you'd simply post the journal. So again, the interaction with AX is virtually nil. The posting of the invoice puts it on the portal, the payment on the portal, and the customers, whenever the customer wants to do that, at that time it automatically brings it back upon the payment being approved. It brings it back into AX automatically. Again, there's no interaction by your users. They simply, at the end of the day, need to post the AR payment journal. Let's go back to the portal a second and look at a couple other features. So we have that payment that was made. There's some other options here that we'll talk about. Let's take a look at the wallet. The wallet, now I'm logged in as that customer, the ePay customer number 3 here at the top. I can come in and take a look at my wallet. So these are the items. I can drill in here and edit my Visa card. Now you'll notice this loading. This is actually going out to the Amazon Web Cloud. So this is the part that makes the PCI compliance very simple. The other screens we saw on the portal were actually on the website that you host. You could put it on-premise, you could host it in the cloud, you can host it anywhere you want. It has its own database. The information that you see here, however, this screen is not hosted on from your portal. This is hosted in the PayFabric cloud in Amazon Web Service. So this data that has the credit card number, which is tokenized and recorded in your database, All of this information is stored off-site out of your purview. Again, when you go for PCI compliance, that piece of information is very, very critical and allows that PCI compliance to be much simplified. So you can set these up any way you like. You can set up for an e-check, which is basically an ACH debit or a direct debit or a SEPA debit in Europe. So these credits or debits are set up here. Again, the important point to note is in the terms of anything to do with the information being entered for credit cards and or banking information is done off-site, not on the website. So let me log out. So as you noticed, I was logged in as a customer. There's another way that this website can be used. I'm now logging in under a different login, and now I'm a CSR, or a customer service representative. So what that means is I'm now a person that's responsible for a number of my customers. So this is an AX user that is responsible for a number of customers. With that, the customers I've set up, I can actually access information for the customers that I'm managing. So this would be a salesperson or a CSR, customer service rep, that's responsible for the customers, and they can then actually go in on their behalf and make payments. So they could come into this particular customer, they have all the same information, they could come in here and view the invoices, look up the invoices, and they could actually make payments against that. So if they went in here and made a payment, they can access a wallet that the customer set up, but they might not be privy to that credit card information and but they could say, by the way, I was on the phone with Sally, and Sally said, please, I do want to make a payment against my Visa card, and then the CSR can make that process happen. So this portal can be used not only by the customer themselves, but by a customer service representative that has the capability to manage those various customers that they're set up in AX as the salesperson, and that's what dictates which particular customers they can manage. So that's a bit of the highlight of what the portal looks like. Let's quickly take a look at any setup. Again, the ePay setup is very, very straightforward. A question that I'm sure people are asking is, well, which customers become ePay customers? There are different ways you can do that. One way is you can designate them individually. So if I come in here to the customer screen and I go to customer 3 and I go to edit, when I come down here to the payment area, we have a field called are they an ePay customer? Yes. So individually you can make a customer an ePay customer. As soon as you turn that on, they will get an email sent to their primary email address, and that will let them know that they've been enrolled in ePay, and then they can go and set up their account in their portal. We also have a way to do a mass kind of update, so there's a way to say all of my customers that are in a certain group, a certain membership group or vendor or customer group should be ePay customers. So maybe you have 200 customers, that would automatically make them all ePay customers, but then you can override that. So you can flag them to say yes by filter, meaning that they were set up by a filter, or you can then override that and say no, don't make them an ePay customer. So there's a lot of control for that. So in general, the setup is very straightforward. There's very little to do here. As I mentioned, you simply do sales orders and then post your invoices, and automatically they go into the queue and get set to ePay. You do a free text invoice or credit, they automatically go over to ePay. Project invoices are on our roadmap. If you have a client or have an interest for project invoices, we'll be adding that. Please be in touch with us. We also plan to package various documents. We've heard from the project area frequently an invoice needs to have a set of documents, not the invoice, some write-offs or compliance documents, and we have plans to incorporate those into a package so that again on the portal they could view all of those documents. Again, as you can see, there are two main pieces to ePay. One is just that presentment of those invoices off to your customers, completely unattended, very low footprint in terms of your AX users. The other part is the payment piece to allow them to pay against that. Let me jump back to the presentation, a couple more things to touch on. So actually this is the surprise that I was talking about. This is a new feature that we'll be adding. It's called PayLink. So let's talk about what PayLink is. So can you imagine being on the phone with one of your customers and they say, yeah, I see that invoice, an outstanding invoice, and yeah, we'll send you a check tomorrow. Well, what if you said to them, Well, if you'd like, I could send you an email right now that would allow you to pay it right now. So you're on the phone with them and you say, yes, and in this case, we're highlighting a $317,000 invoice that's sitting here. And there's a button on that screen, the invoice journal, called Create PayLink. Click that button, and what comes up is a screen that says, how do you want to get notified? Do you want me to send you an email? Do you want me to send you a text? And so what will happen is, and can you envision this, that you're on the phone, someone's actually in the grocery store, and you've reached them on their cell phone, and what if you could just send them a text right there, and from that text they could actually make the payment? And this is how the flow would work. So this is a particular invoice. You set that, you click the send button here. On their cell phone or on their web browser, they get this email that says, here's what you just agreed to pay. You can get additional details if you click this link, and this would go out to the PayFabric site. What happens is then they get a screen that comes up like this that basically has the way to pay. Do they want to pay by check or e-check or pay by credit card? And they click on that. They bring their wallet item comes up about what they're going to do, and they hit process transaction. Once that gets approved, they get a confirmation that reports back to them exactly. It's very similar to what's on ePay. And then finally, they get an email that sends a payment receipt back to them, telling them what they paid. So in that few steps, you have immediate contact with your customers. You immediately collect the payment, and all of what we talked about before works identically. It comes back into AX. It goes into a payment journal, and at the end of the day, you simply post that payment journal. Very, very excited about PayLink. Again, it's an extension of that. It doesn't require a portal. It's simply a one-off, go and make a payment immediately without any interaction. So this is the last part. This is actually where it would come back into an open payment journal and settle that exact amount, exactly like how ePay works as well. So in terms of summarizing all of this, this is a nice kind of chart that shows the difference between paper billing or ePay Advantage. As you can see, just in general, there are a number of items that you have to go through as you go through the process from right to left. And basically what you're doing is cutting out two items, both on the creation of the invoicing and also on the making the payment application. So instead of having 4 items here on the right, we're now down to 2, and 4 items on the left, we're down to 2 as well. So this is in combination with our integration with ePay and AX, and then the Nodus technologies in terms of the PayFabric out on the web. So let's talk about pricing as we wrap up here. Again, the pricing is quite straightforward. There are 4 items that involved with the pricing. The AX integration in the web portal, as we just showed. We talked about the integration with AX, the ePay queue, the AR payment settlement journal, and all of that interaction. And then the web portal, there's a licensing fee like that, like a normal licensing fee like any of our other modules. In addition, there's a software assurance and support, as with other modules as well. It's a nominal fee, again, to keep the software current and up to date. The third item is a merchant account. So we can help you find one if you don't have a merchant account right now with a credit card processor. We can help you find it. We have experts that have dealt with them and try to find and negotiate a good rate for you. Or you can leverage one that you already have. Again, that we just have to make sure that it integrates with the PayFabric folks, but we find that that's very common. And finally, there's a very nominal charge to support the Amazon Web Service and the piece that makes the PCI compliance very simplified. Got a couple of examples there. As you can see, the amount of money per month is nominal, but that helps take care of the PayFabric site, which holds your credit card information and keeps it in a PCI compliant fashion. So with that, that wraps up kind of the presentation. Again, my name is Tim Kahn. If you have questions, you can email me. Ainsley in the U.S. Will be happy to take sales questions at sales@sksoft. Jonas Anderson in EMEA can be reached at anderson@sksoft for our EMEA folks. And again, our website's there. We have a new Danish website as well, sksoft.dk. Feel free to access that as well. So with that, Ainsley, I'd like to open it up to questions. Glad to see if anyone has anything I can help out with.
Perfect, thanks. Okay, so folks, the I mentioned this a little bit earlier. If you'd like to ask a question and you actually want to speak to us instead of type it out, just use the little raised hand icon, and I'll keep an eye out for that. And as you raise your hand, then I'll go ahead and unmute you. I'm not going to unmute everyone because we have a ton of people on this call, and there might be dogs barking or babies crying, I don't know, in the background. So just raise your hand and I'll unmute you if you'd like to ask a question over the line. And then you can also use the questions pane. Just type a question when you think of it, and we'll ask those. And I'm going to continue recording the line. That's actually the first question in this pane, is whether we're recording. So yeah, the whole session will be recorded. There is a session at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time today. So if you have other folks that that time is convenient for them and you've seen the presentation and feel like they need to be on it live, other than the recording, we'll have another session today, so feel free to send them the registration link for that. It was in the email that you received, but you can also email me and I can get them signed up as well. Okay, so that takes care of the first question. Let's see, we have a few more here. Okay, yeah, they're coming in, Tim. Let's be ready. Okay. We have any customer costs associated with this? Do you see much potential for B2B use of this module?
Right. No, there's no cost on the customer side. Again, it's like the normal credit card piece. The credit card fees are handled by the merchant, you, the AX customer. So in terms of B2B, if you have, it's just a matter of your corporate people. A lot of times we find corporations do want to have credit card payments because then they build up the rewards, especially if they're large amounts. So it really depends on the market. We definitely feel there's a B2B component for it as well.
Okay. What if the customer is not quite set up on ePay yet, but after their invoice is posted, they want to pay via credit card? How would that invoice get into the queue?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I mean, I think that in that part, what we would do, once you turn them on, it doesn't retroactively like fill their portal with all open invoices. But I think the PayLink would be an ideal case for that. So they have an invoice that's historically there, and they've now just got on ePay, and now going forward, all those invoices go out there. But with PayLink, you could send them a PayLink, and they could pay that way just on a one-off.
Okay, and how does partial payment work? Do they pay once and then they have to go back into the screen to see the new amount left, or does that refresh on the screen when they're on there?
Yeah, so if you have a $12,000 invoice, you pay $100, you'd see immediately that there's a balance of 11,900 euros or dollars, whatever it is. So then you can make another payment. Again, you can set up to pay later. You can also set up to pay over time, to say pay so much over a period of time. So there are a lot of different options there, but partial payments are absolutely available.
Okay, and this question is from our friends in Europe. Are other direct European payment methods available, like Ideal, so I'm not sure what that is, but Sofort payment, etc.? Mostly just different payments per country in Europe.
Sure. So again, we're rolling this module out, and we're very open to various payment methods. The plan is that it is a global module. A number of those gateways handle global payments, and so if you have a request or a customer that has that need, we're very, very open and willing to look at that, and we want to incorporate that. So certainly we're going to look at those more standard methods. I know there's some very kind of isolated pieces, and if there's a standard in your country, please let us know, and we'll absolutely take a look at that.
Okay, you also spoke about cross-promotion upselling. Can you explain an example of how AX2012 customer would do that?
So the website, the web portal that you saw that there was our logo, our SKG logo. So the logo is completely customizable. The screens are customizable. They're all CSS screens, so you can actually go in, and on the portal, when the customer logs in, you could highlight a promotion or other things that are going on. You could push that out to the portal and have all your customers see that. And it can be customer specific, I believe, but you also could do that. So if you have a holiday promotion or a spring promotion, you could publish that out so as they come in for bill pay, they would see that, and that would allow them to automatically be aware of it, rather than having you send out a mass emailing or have them have to go to your website. As part of the payment process, they could see those kinds of deals or promotions.
Okay, this is a question I had for you, Tim. On the setup screen where you can click that they are an ePay customer, can you, let's say they don't get that email, it gets blocked in some sort of Outlook voodoo, how can you resend that initial setup email? Do you just click it on and off, or?
Yes, under the portal, I showed you two logins. One was a login for a CSR, and another login was for a customer. There's a third login is for an admin. So from the admin area, actually, you can go in there and you can interact with your customers that way through the admin of the portal. So you could send them information that way.
Okay. And okay, other than merchant account and PCI compliance, any other customer needs other than having AX to implement ePay?
Is that referring to the AX owner, or are you talking about the customer, do you think? I'm not clear what.
The AX owner.
The AX owner, yeah. So the AX owner, and again, repeat the two things. One was PCI compliance.
Yeah, other than having a merchant account set up and being PCI compliant, is there anything else they need to be able to implement ePay with their AX system?
Absolutely not. Just it's a module in our suite. So again, it's just licensing our module within the suite. There's an installation, of course, for the web portal, but there's no additional cost over than just the licensing. Then, like you suggest, the merchant account needs to be established, and then the PCI compliance. Again, the PCI compliance is generally required for those high volume customers. So depending on your volume, again, those, as I showed, we had volumes at 5,000, 10,000. There are numbers that are below that, 1,000 payments a month, and then there are ones higher than that as well. So PCI compliance is dependent on the volume, and that can be a self-assessment done, or if you're at a high volume, you may need to bring in an assessor that comes in and evaluates. But again, storing the data offsite and doing the data entry by your customers offsite, very, very simplified compared to most credit card systems.
Okay. Is it required to use Nodus, or could our customers keep using, for instance, this says Ingenico as the credit card processor?
Right, so the Nodus part, the credit card processor just needs to be interacting with PayFabric. So depending on the gateway and the processor, that would be a question. We would go work with our Nodus partners, and if you have a gateway or a processor that you're currently working with, we'd see what the capability for them to work with Nodus. So there has to be, though, the interaction between the gateway and the processor with PayFabric, because as you can see, that's where our credit card data is stored and managed.
Okay, last question. PayLink looks very useful for our team. When will that be ready?
It's coming up very soon in the first quarter, so stay tuned. Make sure that you let Ainsley know, or Ainsley record who that is. We'd like to be in touch with you. We'd love to have you try it out when we have it ready. So I think it's within the next few months, but let's have a dialogue about that and see how quickly we can get it to you.
Okay, I think that wraps us up. Thank you all for posting your questions. Of course, if you have more questions after today's session, we'll have 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We'll be repeating this presentation, so you know, your other folks in the office, if they'd like to attend the live event, they can sign up for that. And then Tim has our email addresses and contact information there as well on the screen. So thanks, Tim, for your time this morning. Thank you, everyone, for showing up today.
Have a nice morning and nice afternoon. Bye-bye.